I didn't know anyone was craving a sequel to Greenland from 2020, but here we are 5 years later with a sequel, which kind of was exciting. Mid-range budget action movies and sequels were a big thing back in the day, so I went in hoping that this would be a successful sequel. What's up, everyone? Let's review Greenland 2 Migration today. It takes place 5 years after the first film, but you don't really need to have seen that picture to enjoy this one. It catches you up very fast, and the first film was a disaster movie. This sequel is more of a post-apocalyptic genre film. Following bad and unknowable circumstances, the Garrity family must leave the bunker they have survived in for the last 5 years and head toward Europe. I thought the original Greenland was smart, grounded, and had a powerful message about doing whatever you have to do for the ones you love, even in the midst of the end of the world. I liked that it focused so much more on the characters instead of, say, like Bruce Willis saving the day at the 11th hour. And this sequel sticks to the same formula of making it about the characters first and foremost. The family dynamic is still very strong in this film. If you watch the first one, you will appreciate the tight bond even more. When the child identifies himself as 15, though, and he was 7 in the last picture, but only 5 years have passed, I knew what kind of movie I was in store for. A sequel that doesn't care as much about continuity. Visuals are nice, and the atmosphere is pretty solid. The performances are all really good. There is a wonderful sequence later in the film where our characters are crossing a large canyon with ladders going across, and it was tense, well shot, and fun to drink all that in. This will pass the smell test and even maybe the taste test if all you want is a post-apocalyptic movie that follows all the tired and true pathways with no wiggle room for surprises. This is one of those movies where if you think too hard about what you are watching, you can pick it apart. I already mentioned the child's age being off between the two films, but there's also weird stuff like when they first get to a place they are heading toward in a boat pod thingy, they hit something. Once they get out to investigate it, they notice that they hit the top of a skyscraper, meaning that the whole area and most likely the world was flooded like thousands of feet above where everything was. But within like a minute, they find a place to park, and everyone is on normal ground and driving around on roads like there's no high water levels at all. So the high water level just felt like it was inserted to give us a cool visual, even if it didn't make sense with the state of the rest of the world. When it comes to a disaster or apocalypse movie, I can look past plot holes and weird inconsistencies in the universe if the action is exciting, and it is exciting in small ways. Because I care about this family as a unit, I like seeing them persevere in spite of all the tragedies surrounding them. But when the tragedy is so thinly sketched that it reduces itself to archetypes, that's when films like this start to lose me and I begin picking apart the holes in its overall design because it is all so familiar. The son is diabetic. That was one of the biggest subplots in the first film, and it is addressed here as well. But they have one throwaway line about him packing up as much insulin as he can for the trip they have to take, but don't bother to explain how he survived not only the last 5 years, but also how he survives everything that happens in this movie. It's like they just threw in one line and expected us to just accept it and move on. Okay, maybe I can. But how about the fact that most of the time they have to rely on the kindness of others to succeed in almost everything they do in this picture? There isn't as much tenacity to me as there was the last time out with the characters. The first one had random acts of kindness too, I won't deny that, but this one seems to have it at the most opportune times and it began to frustrate me. Oftentimes in the beginning of the film, they scan the air and determine whether or not it is safe to breathe. They even wear masks, and we hear about radiation levels being at certain levels. So it is establishing to us that only pockets of the world can be breathed in, and they have to keep their guard up that the air in some places may not be as safe as the air in other places. But once they get to land and start interacting with people, that is just dropped completely and never brought up again. We are told about these groups of people who are rough to be around because they have lived out in the wasteland for the last 5 years, and this epic war going on by the crater of the comet. But we only get small scenes of those events without any true tension to go with the realistic world our protagonists live in. The picture began feeling too open instead of focused like the last time out. The war of the crater is set up as this potentially big thing, and I thought that would be the climax of the film. But we just see some fire burning and some gunshots, but nothing that puts anyone we care about in peril. So it came off as a set piece that was only there for reasons? The family at some point end up with someone else along the way, and I understand that this is a person who is supposed to be a friend for the teenage son. But because this film is just over 90 minutes, she is introduced so late that her arriving felt rushed, and all of a sudden the film just wanted us to like her without any build-up. That's my biggest problem with this film, is that it doesn't organically build up any of its characters outside of the main three, and it doesn't flow as well as it probably could have. I seem to say this a lot in films I review, but I think it could have been around 20 minutes longer and been better fleshed out with more dynamics we care about, and we would have liked it a lot more. But maybe people thought the last one was too drawn out for too long, I don't know. But the bottom line for me on this film is it's okay. It isn't bad, it isn't good either though. It just kind of lies there for me as a sequel that probably didn't need to be made. I see you could potentially watch it on streaming, but it isn't worth a theater price. It has enough thrills and action sequences done well enough, but on a basic level, that you can get enjoyment out of it. All you want to do is shut down your brain for 90 minutes and watch Gerard Butler chew up the scenery with his grizzled jaw. I give Greenland 2 Migration 2.5 stars out of 4. The biggest sin for me is for a sequel to be middling, and unfortunately this one is right in the middling category. I would say I was disappointed by it, but honestly, I wasn't expecting much going in. So the fact that it's passable, I guess, is okay enough for me. I just don't think I'll remember this film by this time next month. And that is my review. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please like and subscribe. Here's links to my other videos. Follow me on social media if you like. And until next time, I am Ghost.